Halliwax here, back in my basement. Starkiller and Tony asked me to do a video explaining how to wire up the tactical switches on their Princess Saber. So these instructions come right from Starkiller and Tony. First off, we're going to be using this 1.6mm tactical switch. You're going to need 2 of those. You can purchase them in the link in the description below. So the main switch is wired up like this. I put liquid electrical tape on it, but it's really not necessary because it's going to sit in a 3D printed cup. So I soldered them up with the wires facing downwards on the tabs. And you get these 2 little 3D printed cups that sit in the main button. They require a little bit of sanding. So this one's shaped like this. And this one here comes like this. But you're gonna need to sand it and open it up a little bit. At least I did. It made it a lot easier. So you can see how much wider this side is compared to the factory side, should I say. Do it one more time. And all that does is allow room for it to sit over those wires that we just soldered onto the switch. First things first, we're gonna screw our mount down. So that's 1 screw inside there. And then we're gonna slide our wires through each hole. This piece here sits underneath the switch. Just like that. So now that the 3D printed part's in there with the tactical switch, we're gonna put our cover on, but we're gonna make sure the wider part that we sanded is facing up so it has clearance for the wires. Put our frosted glass in there. And just get it to catch. This may take a few tries, but there we go. The main button is wired now. There we go. And now with those 2 wires inside there, it doesn't allow the button to unscrew. So next up is the stealth switch. So my setup looks a little bit different than yours. So let me explain. I got my Princess a little bit early, and when I went to install the tac switches, I noticed mine wouldn't function properly. So I came to the conclusion that the plating, when they plated that pocket there, it took up just enough space which wouldn't allow it to actuate. So I took some sandpaper and I scrubbed away here and sanded away the finish. And just by sanding the finish away, the switch worked fine. Now, Tony and Starkiller want me to do this instruction video. And when I took the shroud off, you'd see this mess of a job I did sanding away. So I just went over to my mill and I took a very light pass off of it. So it's much cleaner for the video. But realistically, all you have to do is take some sandpaper. I folded it up like a triangle and scrubbed away in there. You can actually still see where the plating is left behind that I didn't touch inside there with the sandpaper. I just scrubbed away with the sandpaper, and I mean maybe 2 minutes and I had it working just fine. So that's why my pocket looks a little bit different than yours. But realistically, all you got to do is take some sandpaper and sand the plating off, and the switch is going to work just fine. It's going to be the same exact switch, but now I wired it actually upside down. I find it easier to wire the switch upside down because the small button inside the shroud here, it's easier to hit this wide area than it is that little brass section. I wired it with the tabs down, and I put some liquid electrical tape on there so it doesn't arc out. And this one's fairly simple too. We just put our wires in this way. This sits a little bit crooked inside the pocket, but it doesn't matter because it's going to function anyway because we use the back instead of the front. Like this. Do. Down a little bit. There we go. You can hear it. See how it sits in there a little crooked? But it's gonna work. Now I'm gonna put the shroud on. There we go. So that is the official instructions from Starkiller and Tony. So some quick tips. When sanding the 3D printed parts, sand a little and then try it. And then sand a little bit more and then try it. Because if you sand too much, then it's not gonna work right and the bezel will unscrew on itself. It's made to be pressure fit. Same thing with the stealth switch. Just sand a little with the sandpaper and then attempt the switch. Realistically, you want to sand all the copper plating off inside that swimming pool there. You want to sand it all away and get the switch in there. And then I seriously recommend putting the switch upside down because it's just so much easier to hit it. As you can see, I just spun it a little bit and found it right away. So that pretty much wraps it up. I hope this video helps explain how to wire up the tactical switches. I also want to thank Starkiller and Tony for asking me to do this. I feel completely honored, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Keep an eye out for the next video. This is Halliwax.